Okay, we're live.
All right. What a day, Scott. What a day.
Is it working for you on your side? There, we're live.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay.
Okay. I'm going to close it. All right, we're live. What a day. Chris, you said it already before I kept questioning if we were actually live or not. This is a Spitballin first, right?
Yes.
You do this on Blabbing all the time, but we've never actually been live for Spitballin. So it's good to see all 5 of you so far. Thanks for joining. And if you're here, you're probably aware that Mike Trout's already hurt. It's unfortunate, but I mean, it's kind of expected, isn't it, Chris, at this point?
I hate to use the word expected, Scott, but I feel like we were all just enjoying this home run barrage we were getting from him. But in the back of our minds, we're all terrified that this was coming. And this is exactly kind of the way it wouldn't be a moment on the field. It would just be completely unexpected. I only found out because a guy I'm playing in my weekly league has Trout, and he messaged me and he's like, "Of course Trout's hurt." I'm like, "He's what?"
My dad, he used to have MLB Network, and he would always text me updates. But he actually told me, he broke the news to me while I was working today. And the worst part about this injury is it's a meniscus tear. These are the type of injuries I would imagine people played through back in the day, right? Like,
I know Mickey Mantle played most of his career with some sort of meniscus tear, with some sort of cartilage damage, something in his knee that we could easily repair now.
He hurt his knee on this open sprinkler head. I think it was in Yankee Stadium. And there's like the thing that Joe DiMaggio made Mickey go get it. And then, whatever. Yeah. There's like that whole rumor. But it's unfortunate for Trout. He was kind of tearing up and crying, and you can't really blame the guy. Like, this is every year at this point. Also, a couple people, hey, John.
Yeah.
Kiwi Cards, thank you. Trevor, I don't know if Trout's hitting 30 home runs. I don't know if he has enough time. I mean, he had 10 really quick, obviously, but you have to play enough games to get there.
That little press conference is the right word, but that little where he addressed the media was so painful to watch. Like, to me, it felt like I'm watching him sort of realize that he's not going to be able to play himself out of Anaheim this season. Like, he's stuck there. He is just, this is going to keep happening. No one's going to take on that contract, and he's stuck. And he's just going to, the rest of his career is just going to be buried in what, I hate to say it, is a team that's completely irrelevant. As long as Moreno owns it, they're never going to be anything else. And he's stuck there now forever.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Trout has put a lot of great quotes out since he's this last year with the media, saying how he really wants to stay with Anaheim. He wants to go to the playoffs with Anaheim. And either he's just saying that because he's good at the media, or he actually means it. And so he's either sad because he feels like he's wasted a year of his career and they're not going to make it because of him and they're relying on him, or he's sad because of your point, there goes his chance to go to a contender. But who knows? It's tough.
Yeah.
But
because everyone loves Trout. I don't think there's when some people get hurt, there's always some jerks in the hobby who are out there. They like to sort of dance on other people's graves a little bit. But with Trout, I don't think anyone's happy today.
No, definitely not. This is one of the situations. It's like, I wonder what Ohtani's thinking right now. Is he just thinking, "Oh boy, glad I'm not in Anaheim right now"? Right?
I bet he just feels bad for his buddy.
Yeah, that's most likely it.
So we have some interesting questions in here. Trevor Gray says, "What if the Angels just hold Trout out until July every year?" That's kind of fun. I mean, if you're only going to get 80 games, are the second 80 more important than the first 80? I mean,
the problem with that is they're already going to be 20 games back by that point, 30 games back.
Yeah, they might be 25 and 45 or 25 and 55 by then.
Will the latest injury derail his Hall of Fame trajectory? I mean, no. He's already had a Hall of Fame career. It is going to derail his all-time great argument and case, right? Recently, I think last year heading into the season, there was a ranking from Bleacher Report or ESPN or one of the major publications, and they were saying the top 100 players of all time, and they had Trout at number 15 ahead of a lot of great players. And that was with the understanding he's still going to continue to play. But now, if he keeps having these injuries, is he a top 15 guy all time? I mean, his peak is absolutely top 15 all time, but he's kind of becoming Griffey at this point because Griffey followed a very similar trajectory. The difference between Griffey and Trout is Griffey still played through it. He just was bad. Trout's good when he plays. He just doesn't play. So
yeah, Trout. I saw a really interesting comparison on Instagram that Trout is unfortunately really following in Mickey Mantle's footsteps. We've got multiple MVP awards and all-time top 10 player through his age 30 season, and then just an inability, a body just breaking down.
Yeah.
And it stinks. It's great to be compared to Mantle, but not in that way. You
Yeah.
know, like I've had my ability to consume alcohol also compared to Mickey Mantle, and that's also not good. Like that's not the comparison that I want, certainly. I did see some people saying that they can't see Trout as a great player anymore. I mean, he's obviously a great player, but it just stinks. I mean,
it depends on when you started watching baseball. If you started watching baseball in 2020 or sooner, you don't see Trout as a great player. He's always hurt. If you watched in the 2010s, Trout was the most dynamic.
The decade of the 2010s, he was the best player by a mile.
Yeah. But I will say, so this is going to sound bad, and I know that. So I'm paraphrasing this by saying this is going to sound bad. I was not a huge baseball fan. I was born in 1995, so I'm pretty young. I kind of missed all of Griffey's peak. I cared about basketball growing up because my family was friends with John Stockton, and so we would watch a lot of Jazz games, and we didn't care about baseball as much. I started to care more about baseball when Billy Butler started to play, whatever, right? That's when I started to pay attention. I was old enough. I appreciated the history of baseball. And I remember looking at Ken Griffey Jr.'s baseball reference page as a 18-year-old and thinking, what's the hype around Griffey? Because his numbers are so far below, at least for advanced metrics, than a lot of other all-time greats. But I think when I dug into those more as I got older and realized how good he was in his 20s, and then you'd look at his 30s, how bad they were. I think he had 6 or 7 wars entire age 30 to 40 seasons. Yeah. So it just happens that could be Trout too, right? Where we remember his peak, but he's not going to be Willie Mays, no matter how much we hope.
Yeah, I remember Griffey trying to run down a ball in center field and just wrecking his knee, I think it was. And it was the 4th injury he had in Cincinnati. And the broadcasters were on the brink of tears. They're like, we just cannot believe this keeps happening to this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously Griffey's hobby popularity, I think it took a dive, in the 2000s when he was in Cincinnati. But since his retirement, I would say it's come back up. So is that sort of what you would think Trout's hobby popularity might follow?
I don't know. It's easy to say no right now because of the situation. But the truth is, Griffey did have more dynamic aspect about him, right? He was really a big deal in culture. Trout's never had that, really. A lot of people don't know who Mike Trout is. Ohtani's doing a better job than Trout at that, with actually transcending outside of baseball. So that's my concern. I do think he will be fondly remembered. He'll be compared to everybody. And so, yes, I do think he'll be like Griffey in that sense. But Griffey, he captured your generation's hearts, Chris.
Oh yeah,
you guys love Griffey, and I don't know if that's the same with people with Trout. I don't know. It's tough. I like Trout, but I only have one card. Well, one investment card, which is this Sterling out of 25 black, and I was trying to sell it just barely, not because I didn't believe in Trout, but because I wanted to put it towards something else. But now I'm kind of stuck with it. I think a lot of people are going to be burnt right now in the short term.
Yeah. Louis has an interesting question. He wants to know how far we think Trout's base Topps rookie card is going to fall. Do you know where it was trending the last week or two in a PSA 10?
I can look.
Okay.
I can look real quick, but I know it's sub $1,000.
Okay. Trevor Gray says that no one had Griffey's smile. And I think it's also really interesting for people like my dad's generation, for example. He associates players wearing hats backwards with Ken Griffey Jr. And that to me is really funny. People wearing their hats backwards is something I grew up with. I'm used to seeing it. My dad is like, oh, that Griffey, he started a whole new style. And I don't think Trout has started any style, unfortunately, whether anyone believes it or not.
He likes the weather.
He does like the weather.
So this is basically at $1,000. The last 8 sales, the average is $979 to $1. Well, $979 was there was 8 sales yesterday of his PSA 10. I'll just share my screen. That'll be easier than explaining.
All right, so but give or take, we're hovering around $1,000.
Yeah, basically. So here's the graph.
Yeah.
So you can see 8 sales, average is $979, and then the last 2 sales today were 1.12. I imagine that's going to drop.
Yeah, I'm guessing that sale today might not get paid. Yeah, I would think it's gonna come down a bit. I would say with a meniscus tear, it's probably I want to say best case scenario would be 6 or 7 weeks, but I think probably 2 months is about right. And I'm guessing by the end of those 2 months, we're looking at a $700 card.
And on top of that, they're gonna be careful with him.
Absolutely. Right? Probably going to be 20 games under 500 by the time he comes back.
And on top of that, it never seems like Trout heals quick. He's always out longer than they expect him to every year. When he broke his hamate bone last year, a lot of players will come back within 3 or 4 weeks. He was out for 2 months, 3 months. And so that's my other thing. So there is the rumor. There's a rumor, and everything I'm saying here is a rumor. But do you remember the Mariners third baseman's son was talking about how Trout actually was doing steroids for his thyroid, and everybody knew it in Major League Baseball, but it's okay because it was approved by Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball then came out and said that's not true whatsoever, right? But if let's just say hypothetically, I don't believe it. I want to start off, I don't believe that. But if it was true, could this be the consequence with these injuries now in his 30s?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to. I don't know. I mean, anything can. Like he's played center field a lot. His body's had a lot of wear and tear. There's some comments in here about Griffey's playoff run, and I will say one thing that's great about it was only one. They did win one playoff series while Griffey was there, and then unfortunately he left, and they won 116 games right after he left. But that 1995 playoff run is epic. It's crazy iconic. In Seattle, people still talk about it, and the highlight of the Edgar Martinez double. Yeah. Griffey coming around and sliding, like it's 100 times a season. You're going to see that like on the MLB Network. So it was, you're right. It was one playoff series, but it was a hell of a playoff series, you know?
Yeah. There's also like, even it's in popular culture. There's Macklemore, the rapper. Do you know who he is?
Oh yeah.
He has a song called My Oh My, and it literally has the sound bit of that and talks about like that moment in it when the announcer's talking about it. So it's definitely a big deal.
Yeah, so. It's a big deal. And at moments like that, Trout does not have. And it just, like an injury like this, I think just makes it less likely he's ever going to have it, which is like, it's tragic. I compare it to Mickey Mantle, but that's also not fair because Mantle hit 18 home runs in the World Series. Yeah. And unfortunately, Trout, it just seems like at this point, Trout's just never going to have that opportunity. So if I'm looking to buy a Trout card, I do think Trout will become popular in the hobby again, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, Trout will have staying power, definitely. But I think this is also a good thing to remember for really hot players at all time. Like, right? So like Ohtani, we talked about him on our Spitballin show. It's coming out tomorrow or Friday. I don't know which episode it was. But we talked about like Ohtani's card prices and how they're really expensive still. It's the same concept, right? Trout has been the most expensive player of Major League Baseball cards for a decade. And now they're just dropping the moment he kind of flames out. And that's just kind of what happens. That's the risk of buying hype and all of that. So be careful. Only put money into cards you're okay losing. It's kind of
I mean, that's the sentiment. And that's really easy to say. And it's so hard when it's your money. Because you could anytime if you and I are buying a card, Scott, like we're never like, well, I'm going to buy this Freddie Freeman card for $300. And if it goes to zero, so be it. I'll say that, but do I actually like deep down feel that way? No, I wouldn't buy the card if I thought that was even a tiny chance of happening.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying though. That's the mindset we need to have as collectors because this stuff can always happen. Trevor Gray says more games missed this year, Trout or Rendon.
Rendon has to be, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he's already like torn his hamstring. I mean, it would be amazing. I want it to happen, but it won't. I really want the Angels to just release him, to just be like, just get out of here. Here's your money and go. Like, we'd rather not have you around.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do something along the lines of a salary dump. So let's say Trout is hurt, and let's say the writing's on the walls. Perry Manassian, he was with the Braves, actually, I believe. Wasn't he, Chris? The GM for the Angels? I think he was with the Braves.
I don't know.
Pretty competent guy, right? Is kind of my understanding. Is this now where they're going to have a full-fledged rebuild, right? Where they say, okay, Trout's hurt. Let's have him just come back and let's say, hey, Trout, time to move on this offseason. And then they trade Anthony Rendon or cut him, but maybe try to like do a salary dump with the top prospect. Who knows? But I feel like we're there at this point. I feel it's too late.
Yeah, I think Rendon is probably the single most untradeable player. Even let's say he's owed $200 million. If they eat $199 million of it, I don't think a team would want him anyway. Like he doesn't play. His attitude is crap.
Yeah.
Fans hate him. So I think they're just stuck. They either release him and just eat the money and get him out of the clubhouse. But yeah, I think this offseason I thought last year there would be. For the Angels to now trade Trout, like instead of eating 20, 30%, they're going to have to eat at least 50% to get that contract moved now, I would think.
I was talking to my dad about that. We were talking about the Yankees, and we were discussing, well, the Yankees could do it, but I'm like, I don't think the Yankees want to do it because they're trying to save money for Soto. And if they get Trout on their books and they don't get Soto, and now they have Trout, Stanton, and Judge in their lineup, that could be one of the worst spent money in like 3 years ever, right? Like,
oh my God, yeah, I could. The Yankees would be like the first team I would cross off. Like
Mhm.
another right-handed hitting outfielder in his mid-30s with an injury history. Like, no, I can't imagine they would be interested in that. Amaru with 31. Thank you. So yeah, he was the assistant GM to is it Capella, whatever that Braves GM was, who's barred for life for
Yeah, for all of the illegal signings he did or whatever.
yeah, and somehow the assistant had no part in that and just went and the Angels hired him. That's very Angels. That's
Promotion.
very, very Angels. It just makes me sad every time. I mean, all we wanted, I think every baseball fan could, we all root for different teams, different players, but I think every baseball fan could universally agree. We just want to see Trout play.
Yeah.
Largely because we weren't concerned about his team eliminating our teams from the playoffs, but like we just wanted to see Trout play. And
Healthy superstars is good for baseball.
absolutely. Yeah.
Filmington from the popular YouTube channel Filmington and Spitballin Cards in the
Also
chat said, I called Trout getting injured in April if he came out stealing bases. That's another thing, Phil, right? What if those 5 stolen bases led to him tearing his meniscus because he ran a little bit too hard? And there could be a lot of truth to that.
What about the Angels? I mean, just putting him in center field. I obviously, if you've watched anything, I've railed against the Yankees putting Judge in center field and just acting like everything's fine. He'll be healthy. But I feel like we all gave the Angels a pass for just putting Trout out there. And like, if he does come back from this, he's got to go to left.
Yeah. The difference there, though, in Trout's defense, is he still has 100th percentile sprint speed. His defense is above average, and he played center field. The Yankees are like, all right, we have this guy. Let's put him in center field like the first time. I know he played some games in center field,
right?
But they just put him in there,
yeah,
like out of nowhere, essentially, as their random new plan. But it just shows these big guys who have a lot of muscle mass. It's funny. I hear with smaller players, we hear about Dustin Pedroia and Jacoby Ellsbury that their bodies break down. But with big guys, we hear their bodies break down. And so it is one of those things, though, where it feels like that muscle mass does not help them that much.
No, I think we really need more guys like essentially people like with flexibility, like Ichiro. Like those seem to be the guys that will last. And fingers crossed, Freddie Freeman seems like not a hulking, muscular guy. I know Votto wasn't either, and he seemed to do okay. Your boy Goldschmidt is still in good shape. Physically, he's okay.
Hey, 4 for 4 for his last 4 at-bats, Goldschmidt. So that could change real quick. He's up right now hitting. I have the box score on my left. So
I got a fantasy update that my catcher, Contreras, is 0 for 7 in that doubleheader. So that's not helping my ratio.
Hey, Goldschmidt, he is now 5 for 5 on his last 5 appearances. That brought his average from like under 200 to 240. So I will take that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we've covered Trout. I did want to get into one other bit of saddish news. Sad for me personally. Do you want to explain what's going on with Fanatics and Topps right now?
You go for it. You go for it.
All right. So Topps is having like, I don't know, some event where they're just kind of discussing. It's like Comic-Con.
Summit. Yeah.
And one of the things they announced today is that the standalone set Stadium Club Chrome will no longer exist, which to me is a bit of a kick in the groin. I love that set, but I'm also very aware that I might not be in the majority there. And I don't think it sells particularly well for them. So I do understand. And they said at their event that they're going to try to seamlessly sort of incorporate it more into regular Stadium Club. So I have some thoughts. Like I could be okay with this if they make. There's a couple of little things they could do. Obviously, Scott disagrees with me and just threw himself out his window, which is fine. Right now, I think there's 90 Chrome cards in regular Stadium Club. Like they're gonna have to make that more. So say they bump that up to like 200, and instead of 1 per box, maybe you get like 1 every 4 packs. And then the autos, absolutely, positively, the autos have got to be on card. So I can see this as a positive. There's some good that could come out of this. I hate the Chrome autos in Stadium Club being stickers. I hate that. I hate it. So if they're able to fix that and give us more Chrome cards, like make them a little easier to pull, well, not just by printing more in the set, not just by printing more of each card, then I think that this could end up working out.
So you saw me go off camera there for a second. It's my wife's birthday today, and she was calling. I missed 5 calls, so I called her back real fast. So we were talking about Stadium Club. They aren't making Stadium Club Chrome this year. Is that what you said?
They aren't going to make it ever again. They're going to incorporate it into Stadium Club. So we're assuming, we don't know any more details. I spoke to a couple people at the show and like at the event. So we're hoping for more Chrome cards in like a bigger set. I think it's 90 cards usually. Maybe it'll bump it up to like 200 or so. and get those damn sticker autos out of there. And nerds like me can be placated very easily.
So honestly, I was looking at some Stadium Club cards just barely, and I actually think that's a pretty good move. I think the Stadium Club Chrome insert cards, it makes the Chrome cards more valuable, more scarce, a better pull versus having its standalone product. I don't hate it. I know you probably don't love it, but they can do a lot of great stuff, including and really leveraging both brands together into one. I think it could be really cool.
Yeah, they just need. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things they could do. I just want to briefly, Thomas 99. That's hilarious. I chuckled at that when I saw it. And yeah, I think maybe they do that. Maybe they bump the Chrome set from 90 to like 300 different cards, and they put one Chrome in every pack. Maybe one refractor a box, something like that. Like just there's ways to make this work.
In Stadium Club now, I watched again one case break, and it seemed like it was like one Chrome per box.
That's what you're guaranteed. One Chrome per box. It could be a refractor, it could be a gold.
That's pretty cool. That I don't know. As someone who does not care as much about Stadium Club, I think it's a great product, but that makes those cards more interesting to me as like an investing perspective because it's a more one per box hit. And if it's a big checklist, then you're looking at 1 in 300 boxes to get a Chrome of a specific player, and that's pretty cool chase. So
yeah, if you go back to like 2017, which I think is the year the Chromes started, at least for ultra modern, like they're really hard to find. You don't see those refractors, 2018 refractors like the Otanis, the Albies, the Devers. You don't see those around very often. So they're really, really hard to find. So I'm okay with them being more like if they lower the pack odds, but they have to increase the set, if that makes sense. So like if they're going to put 4 in a box, you better make it 200, 300 cards instead of just 90.
So what is your thoughts? So with the Chromes, if they make them more scarce, what do you think of, I don't think you'll like it, but I'm going to just bring it up anyways. Heritage has Chrome cards and refractors and things. Yes. What if they basically make it like Heritage, right? Chromes are limited to 1,000, like they'd serial number them to 1,000. Would you like that or hate that?
I mean, it's kind of what it is now. Like Chromes are very limited. The refractors are more limited, but not numbered. They have orange refractors to 99. The gold minteds are unnumbered, but got to assume they're close to 50 because they're gold, and that seems to be what Topps does. And I think they even added like pearl whites this year to 30.
Those are to 30.
I mean, it's right now it's pretty similar to Heritage, except there's Chrome autos in Stadium Club, and Heritage doesn't have those yet, but they're stickers, yeah.
But they'll fix that. I really think Fanatics is smart enough to fix that, especially if they're still having those same rights. I imagine they'll fix it.
Yeah. Hey, Professor Dugout, how you doing? Sorry, Scott. Yeah, I think 3 or 4 per box is probably good. 1 per pack is probably overdoing it. I tend to get excited.
I'd even be cool if it was all serial number to 999 or less. I'd be cool with that. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would be okay with that as well. But yeah, the sticker autos have to go. That's the number one thing that we have to go. That have to go. Because that's one of the coolest parts about Stadium Club Chrome is that the autos were all on the cards.
I feel like Stadium Club, and this probably is a movement thanks to you and Jeff a little bit, to be fully transparent, you influencers, but I feel like Stadium Club is really gaining a lot of traction in recent years. And I think Topps is smart enough to realize that. And maybe it's a good thing where we're seeing Topps expand upon brands. We're seeing it with Topps Chrome with tons of stuff. They're actually shrinking this brand into one specific product. So maybe that will actually be a good thing for resale values and hierarchy for this set in the future.
Yeah, they're also doing it with Ginter. There was like a standalone Ginter Chrome set, which is they said that's also going to be absorbed into Ginter. So that means more Ginter. Brief funny story. I've talked on our Blabbing About Slabbing lives with Jeff about how we as a hobby, like we collectors, we like stuff that runs for a while. We want to see consistency and continuity. So if sets pop up briefly or like parallels come and go, their values tend to not be as solid, as reliable. I was talking to Teapot at Cards HQ a couple weeks ago, and we had talked about is Stadium Club Chrome coming back or not. And my wife said to me, she's like, if they cancel that set, does that mean all those autos that you like to chase, are those all going to become worthless now? And I'll be honest, I didn't think she was ever listening. I know she watches our lives. I didn't think any of that information was catching hold. But I was both impressed and then also really mad. I'm like, don't throw that back at me. but I do think some of those cards are so cool that their values are going to be fine. Like that Otani card in 2020, I don't think people are going to stop wanting that.
No,
if the standalone set has stopped.
Yeah, I agree that the individual, like, let's say the base cards for the top tier rookies, I think those base cards are going to have more value for the non-Stadium Club years potentially because there's just less of them out there. Might be a natural movement. One thing I do want from Stadium Club, which has not happened, and it's one issue I have, they need to freaking make the cards look like a refractor. I hate the little logo being changed and just being
Oh,
red and the same image. I don't like that. I want it to be red. But
yeah.
that's just me, and everybody can disagree, and that's cool. But that's one thing I hope they do end up doing if they just include the Stadium Club cards and the Stadium Club Chromes in that set with refractors.
Yeah, so I will say that that's my only complaint about the inaugural standalone Stadium Chrome set in 2020 is that the gold, the orange, the red refractors, the only difference is the logo is a different color. And
Yeah.
that is frustrating. But in 2023 Stadium Club, which just came out recently in 2024, they actually did change that. The orange refractors have orange.
Oh, they do?
Yes, the golds have always had golds, but the orange actually had some orange color in it. And I think there's purples now that had some purple in it. So I think they got some pushback on that, and I believe they've made that better.
Cool. So I have to keep this short because again, it is my wife's birthday. Shout out Kaylin for letting me do this.
And
But
also, shout out for Scott. Like this is dedication to baseball cards on your wife's birthday. Fantastic. Jeff and I did a PSA blind reveal on my wedding anniversary.
if you guys see like divorce news, you know this is partially the reason. I'm just kidding. But one thing I want to point out with Trout, there's a few people that are saying Trout's going to be worse than Pujols was the second half. I completely disagree. I actually think Trout's going to have a better second half for actual rate stats and pure stats than Pujols and Griffey were. I just think Trout can't stay on the field. That's the difference. They might have similar value production. That could be the case where for WAR, they might rack up the same amount of WAR. But even if I'm going to share my screen and just kind of back up my boy a little bit. I used to be a very, very big Mike Trout collector. I sold a lot of my Trout cards this last year. I sold a lot at the National. I traded a Trout Bowman Chrome auto refractor for a Ohtani blue Topps Chrome rookie auto. And then I traded that for a Albert Pujols Bowman Chrome rookie auto from the refractor auto from Bowman Chrome. So like I've kind of gotten out of it and reallocated those resources a little bit, but he's been good when he plays, right? Like even this year had a 142 OPS plus. If we look at Albert Pujols, I imagine
there's no way he had I'm guessing his OPS plus was below average for the last like 3 or 4 years.
With Los Angeles, the highest OPS plus outside of his first year, right, was 126, 116, and then he had sub 100 for like 6 years in a row. Yeah. So I don't think Trout will do that. But I also don't see Trout playing 150 games a year like Pujols did. No. So it's going to be interesting, but I do think Trout still has more production in him if he can stay healthy. It just sucks. Look at this. 53 games, 36 games, 119 games, top 10 MVP finish, 82 games, 29 games. I bet if we actually project these numbers, like this year he had 40 home runs, he probably would have had 55 home runs if he played a full season.
But we can't project those numbers.
I understand. Like even this year, he's leading baseball in home runs up to this point. It just sucks. Yeah, it just sucks.
It stinks. Rage 508 cards says he pulled that 2020 Ohtani hitting. Oh man, that's a beautiful card. So I've opened 8 hobby boxes and 2 retail blasters of 2020 Stadium Club Chrome, and I've pulled 1 Ohtani base card. And it's probably the most excited I've been to pull a base card. It's a deep set. I think there might be 400 cards in that set. So your odds of pulling each individual card are pretty slim in a hobby box. Thomas99 wants to know, did you hear anything else interesting out of Topsicon? I heard the Stadium Club Chrome news hit me, and I stopped kind of paying attention to other stuff. I think they're going to make basketball. Is that right? That was the other.
Yeah, they're actually releasing a basketball Topps Chrome that's going to have Victor Wembanyama rookie autographs. They have a rookie logo on there, which is interesting because it's actually a pretty cool logo. Let me see if I can find the actual image of the card. I'm sure there's 91 people in here, and I'm sure you've all seen it, but I'm going to show it anyways because this is a baseball card and a sports card show. But Topps has a lot of good exclusive rights for players. They have LeBron James, they have Victor Wembanyama, they have a lot of other people. And we did see with Topps, they released a finest set a few years back, and it did not do well. It did not do well whatsoever. But this is the Victor Wembanyama, and you can see they have a rookie logo down here, which is pretty cool. It looks like the backboard, and this is the hoop. Like this is the ball's going into the hoop. So I guess it's pretty cool, right? It's interesting. And this is a big announcement. Jeff
Yeah.
Wilson. They have Steph Curry potentially, looks like, too, based off of what Jeff said, but they have some big names, and that's going to be a pretty sought-after product. It'll be interesting to see how these do in comparison to, like, the Prism cards, because this is unlicensed, but we'll see. Unlicensed baseball never caught on, but this is Topps heading into their actual licensed time in a few years. Maybe people will treat it differently.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, I don't even know what to compare it to, but like if Jason Dominguez only had rookie autos in Panini, or Ellie De La Cruz only had rookie on-card autos in Panini, I bet those cards would be pretty popular versus his Topps non-autos, So I'm sure people will follow the auto, I think, more than they follow the team logo. But I could be wrong. I don't follow basketball. I do know who that is, vaguely. Jeff tried to explain it to me.
You need to know who that is.
Yeah.
He's done things on a basketball court that I have never seen done on a basketball court.
Well,
but yes, he's very thin and very tall. So it's like, can his ankles hold up?
Yes, I've seen some highlights, and watching him run made my knees hurt. So Rage 508 has a question. Well, Trout was diagnosed. We had some sort of back, like a chronic back thing, right? But he said he didn't think it was going to affect his career. But that did happen.
I mean, for all we know, it hasn't affected him. It's just every year it's a new thing, right? The one time he tore his thumb ligament sliding into second, or a ligament in his finger. The next year it was that calf strain from hell where he missed an entire year with the calf strain.
That was brutal. The calf strain, he was just jogging from like second to third on a fly out or something.
And then
I can't.
Then it was the back injury, and now it's a knee injury. So the issue is it's not like consistent. He's just kind of deteriorating, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
We have a JL. No, not JL. Joey M. He said, how is it good that Fanatics has all these exclusive deals equals manipulation? I mean, it could. It's good because I like the products better, and I think Fanatics cares a lot more than Panini does at this point, and they're doing more. So is it good? I mean, no. But is it the better of two options? In my opinion, yes. Would it be great if they both had licenses and like we had Upper Deck back in the early 2000s with Topps and everybody else having cards? Yeah, probably the best for fair competition. But I mean, I think it is better than just Panini having it myself.
I agree. So I know we're winding down here. Professor's Dugout asked what we think about those bat knob cards that we saw. So Topps or Fanatics took the 2024 flagship image for players and put it on the knobs of some bats. Oh. And then I assume they're going to cut those off after they get used and put them back in a card. I love the idea. That's the kind of innovation I can get behind. I just want to see that stuff. I want to see them try things like that, even if the execution ends up being bad. Like, try stuff like that. Like the MLB debut patch, I still think is the best thing Fanatics has done since they took over.
I want to see an infinity bat loop photo. So next year, they'll have a picture of a bat loop with a baseball card on it. So it just goes forever, right? Like how you get like that infinity loop. I think it's cool. Sometimes I actually like the bat knobs plain. Like there's a few examples of Bryce Harper who has really cool Phillies decals on his bat knobs, and they look awesome. It's more to each their own how they feel about it. I think it might cheapen it for some people, but some people will pay more for it, and that's all that matters. So
yeah. Hey Ben, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining. I would say Cal Ripken Jr. Chris C. I think Cal Ripken Jr.'s streak is very safe. I think Matt Olson might be our clubhouse leader, and I don't think he's even near 1,000. So I feel like that streak is probably the safest record in maybe in professional sports.
Matt Olson's played that many games in a row?
Yeah, I think he's played like 3 or 4 seasons in a row.
Nice.
Something like that.
He just needs to, maybe he's hurt right now and he's just playing through it for the record.
I feel like we should go back and check how much of my Spitballin time has been allotted to defending poor performing Braves players. But Matt Olson, according to Baseball Savant, so it is what it is in the 97th percentile for exit velocity and hard hit percentage. So a lot of this is luck, and I think that the tide will turn. At least that's what I tell myself, while I'm biting my pillow as I fall asleep.
Let's look at Matt Olson. I want to look at like his launch angle. Launch angle is lower than it's ever been his entire career, which probably explains why he's just grounding out when hard hit balls. Yeah. It's actually the highest exit velocity he's ever had in his career this year on average exit velocity, which is interesting. And it's the highest hard hit percentage that he's ever had. And if we go up to his sweet spot percentage, he's only at the 60th percentile. So he's still not quite hitting on the barrel is kind of what I'm seeing. His barrel percentage, literally, like the literal definition of a barrel, which is different than hitting it on the barrel, which sounds stupid. A barrel is hitting a ball at 98.5 miles an hour at a specific angle, launch angle, which I think is it's like at 28%. And then the certain amount of exit velocity higher, it can go further, like to 40% or 25% to count as a barrel. But yeah, so he's getting unlucky, it looks like.
Yeah. I don't. It's certainly. I hate the fact that those numbers make me think of Guerrero. So let's hope that Matt Olson doesn't turn into Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But yeah, Rage 508 wants to. Yes, the Trout back thing that came out. It was either last year or the year before. It is sort of a genetic condition, but it's not. He did not think it was going to affect his career at all. So
what else is Trout going to say though? At the same time,
yeah, it's true. But I don't think that has anything to do with his meniscus tear.
No, I doubt it. Okay. Well, I have to run. But thanks for hopping on our live, Chris. It was fun. Hopefully next time we can have Jeff, Ty, or Phil here with us, so we can have different opinions besides you and I in an echo chamber. But I appreciate it, man. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah,
and if you enjoy these live streams where it's not edited at all and these topics aren't really scripted, let us know and we can do more in the future. But we'll catch you all later.
All right. Have a good night. Happy birthday.
Thanks. I'll tell her. See you guys.